Hey everybody, welcome. I got my ex-work peer as well, Cranebroolay, who's
Crane.
also you're also well, I guess you can introduce yourself a little bit. Tell people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Crane I'm a bit of a music historian, and self-reported kind of a way. I make music. I make electronic and hip hop music. I produce and I rap and stuff like that. I've loved punk rock since I was a kid, and hasn't stopped.
Yeah. And today, that's exactly it. We're not going to be talking too much about rap or anything, but we're talking about punks. It's the name of the podcast, Punk Perspectives. We just talk about punk songs one by one. And one we're going to talk about today um, is one that you said you want to talk about, and it really hit me in the feels too. So I'll just talk a little bit about it's "Don't Drag Me Down" by Social Distortion. And I
Yeah.
remember when I first heard this song, I think I was like, I had a like CD Walkman, but I got sick of whatever CD I had. I was probably like 12 or 13 years old, walking to a Jack in a Box, and I remember when I heard that song, it was like one because I was just starting to get introduced to punk a little bit, and it was on the radio, which is what caught me off guard. But it had that like high energy vibe with a lot of like Social D and like punk songs, but it wasn't one that was like about your girlfriend or like some kind of personal crisis. It kind of hit me like at 13 years old. I was like it was making me think, like my mind was on like milkshakes and snacks or what the fuck ever. And then next thing you know, I'm sitting there thinking like, yeah, what are they, what is this, talk about? So then I remember this is outside of their self-titled album with lots of other good tracks too. Story of my life and stuff like this. This is off the album um White Light, White Heat, White Trash, which
Yep.
this
A
song
classic.
actually got me to buy that record, which is also, by the way, is an homage to Velvet Underground. They have an album
Yeah.
called White Light, White Heat, and they just added the white trash part. So tell you what, I'll read the lyrics here, and then I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit on it, but I'll read the lyrics first, and I kind of want to ask some questions on it. So first, the lyrics, so people know what we're talking about. Don't drag me down. Children are taught to hate. Parents just couldn't wait. Some are rich and some are poor. Others are just others will just suffer more. Have you ever been ashamed and felt society try to keep you down? I begin to watch things change and see them turn around. Turn around. They'll try to keep you down. Turn around, turn around. Don't drag me down. Ignorance like a gun in hand. Reach out to the promised land. Your history books are full of lies. Media blitz gonna dry your eyes. Have you ever been afraid and felt society to keep you down? I begin to watch things change and see them turn around. Turn around, they'll try to keep you down. Turn around, don't drag me down. Ignorance like a gun in hand, reach out to the promised land. Your history books are full of lies. Media blitz gonna dry your eyes. And I kind of even hear how the song like even changes a little bit too. And then it goes, you're
Yeah.
18, want to be a man. Your granddaddy's in the Ku Klux Klan, taking 2 steps forward and 4 steps back. Gonna go to the White House and paint it black.
And Paint It Black.
Yeah. So, do you remember like when you first heard that song? Did it hit you? Describe it.
Oh
What do you
yeah.
remember?
Yeah, shoot, dude. I heard that. I grew up playing video games, and there's a couple of video games that really transformed my taste in music, and one of them, Tony Hawk, Pro Skater, Skater 2
Yeah,
specifically, but any of them, the first one, the second one, third one, fourth one, etc.
tons of
They
punk songs.
all have fantastic soundtracks, and they're cross genres. They go all over the place. But they have a lot of really good punk music on them. But this one was actually on Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX 2, which is a little less known about. R.I.P. to Dave Mirra, who passed away like in the 2000s, I think. Um, but that game, the soundtrack was freaking phenomenal, and it had this song on it, and then it
Yeah,
also had the Deftones, which they're more like alt metal kind of stuff. And then it also had Sublime on there, and it also had Rancid. It had like an early Sum 41 song.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's a great soundtrack. It's not very long. It's only got a handful of songs on it. But I would
Yeah.
and you can just go through them when you're playing and pick which song plays at a time. And I would just play the song over and over again when I was playing it.
This
And
one specifically, yeah.
yeah, and I yeah, it took me a while to really like figure out what it's talking about as a kid. Because yeah, when I first heard it, I was probably in elementary school. Um, but it just like yeah, like on a basic level, it's talking about fuck the system and not following what was laid before you. And
Hmm.
on a basic level, I really dug that, and that guitar solo lives in my head rent free forever.
Fucking A,
The
yeah.
classic Social Distortion solo. They're all kind of similar, and I don't mean that in any disservice to Mike Ness, but they just have a very specific sound.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, social D down. You can pick it like the guitars can barely start going
Yeah,
and I'm like, boom,
it's
social.
so specific. Yeah,
Yeah.
any of his guitar solos, they do vary, but they have a very niche sound where it's like kind of like
Oh yeah.
rockabilly punk rock.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then as I got older, when I was in high school, and I really started getting to punk rock at that point, and I was going through the lyrics, and yeah, it really hit me. I mean, it's blatantly anti-racist, and I was raised. Yeah, I was raised Mormon, and
Mm.
yeah, it's they wouldn't say it outright, but especially during the era that I was raised, they've lightened up on things since to some degree, but ultimately, yeah, it was very kind of white nationalist leaning,
Yeah.
without saying it outright, and yeah, I just always felt like something was wrong, and that was kind of yeah. I used punk rock as an outlet because a lot of punk rock albums uh, don't have parental advisory stickers on them because they're
Nope.
all from independent labels.
Yeah.
Even though like any No Effects record should have it on there, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah. Because well, one, I
But
think it's hard for them to usually get in like corporate stores that give a shit about that stuff anyways, but
yeah,
so much of them do like yeah, they just that do it yourself type of, ethos, especially much
yeah,
older ones too, but yeah.
exactly. But yeah, so I could get away with listening to it because that was just the rules. Like no parental advisory. So yeah, I could sneak under the radar like that. And yeah, this song, yeah, I love this song to this day. And I've gone back and I've looked into it. And Mike Ness wrote this song after touring in the South and seeing
Yeah.
that even after desegregation, and this was in the '90s, how racist
Hmm.
it still was down there. And yeah, when you break down the lyrics, "Gonna go to the White House and paint it black," um, that's saying a couple of things. Because the White House was built by slaves, um, and so he's saying, "I'm going to paint it the color it should be," and he's also saying, "Yeah, just going against the norm." But yeah, when the subtext, and he's also talking about how the history books don't actually tell you about yeah, the crimes of the forefathers and things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, and and this would have been 2020, I think, or it was like 2019, something like that. He was playing a show in Sacramento, where I'm from, and
Hmm.
he won't always do it, but sometimes he'll give a speech before he plays his song,
Yeah.
and he's giving a speech, and there was a neo-Nazi in the front, and she was cussing him out and saying just play the fucking music. And he said, "Oh, I mean, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, oh, you can't do that here." And the crowd pinned the dude, and he punched him in the face. He ended up having to apologize, and yeah, he
Which
got assault
is
charges.
so
But
stupid too.
that's pretty punk rock to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's so stupid? It was crazy that it happened with punk. Especially they're LA based, and I know yeah, Ness he wrote this
Yeah,
during the South. We start seeing like a lot of like racist shit going on
yeah,
in the scene,
he's from
especially in the
Fullerton.
yeah. But also like there was like a weird like little like they call it like a skinhead revival that happened in like I guess it was like there was like the LA riots after Rodney King, and then there was like this like reaction to that, which American History X was and stuff, where like the skinhead shit popped up and it flew into punk rock culture somehow, and not for
Oh,
long though.
it's
It
been
seemed to get
there.
nipped,
It's
but
been there. Like yeah, if we go back further, the Dead Kennedys, they have a song called "Fuck You Nazi Punk, Fuck Off."
Nazi punks fuck off.
Um,
That's one of my favorite. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
exactly. It's
yeah.
always been
That
anti.
it's
Yeah,
always been there, but there's simultaneously been an anti-fascist and
yeah.
anti-racist
Yeah, dude.
movement.
I remember like buying
Um,
CDs of like a lot of punk stuff where it's like anti-homophobic, anti-racist, and it was
yeah,
because the music a lot of times I think picked up to like misfitted kids that were kind of outsiders anyway. Like it was like a very accepting fucking group
yeah.
because usually when you went into punk, like you didn't have, you know, it was like a place where you could get allies and stuff. And the fact that you'd get something that was like completely the opposite of what all those beliefs are trying to mix in with that shit was just it's crazy. The first lines really get to me where and it gets to me older now too. Like I was gonna ask you how relevant it is like from then and when you heard. I guess you picked up the lyrics a little bit like later when you read it, but it almost seems like it's almost more important now with stuff you see going on, how it's like that song is almost resonating with me more now. And I have kids to
Yeah.
where having kids, I really like that first line. Kids are taught to hate. you know, I have fucking, watching my youngest growing up for sure. Like they don't have hate in their system like at all. Like unless it's like at me, parents for like authority figures or whatever doing things. But all that crap is so true to like, and that's what I remember got me when I was like 13 is like, wait, yeah, it's like, what are we doing? All this shit's like taught to hate each other, hate our neighbors and
Yeah.
divide us. All this, we're so different. They're trying to kill you. They're taking, all this like just really what it is bullshit. And then I think also like there's that line in there too where, you know, being a white kid and stuff, and it's like one, you're being taught to hate. They system, they can't like they couldn't wait us to like become like these like little fucking like robots for them to basically kind of how I picked up like to brainwash us into their like little hate
Yeah.
machine. And then it's like your grandfather was a fucking member of the Ku Klux Klan, where it's like, yeah, what is it up to like us to like make that change? Like, I don't know. And that's where it goes, don't drag me down. Then it says, yeah, 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. We don't want to go backwards. I kind of picked that up as like an irony to it. I don't know. What was your impression when you heard that part?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's basically like you don't have to follow what was taught to you, and just because it was given to you doesn't mean you have to accept it. And and the 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, that can be interpreted many different ways.
Hmm.
Like I always kind of interpreted like you're going forward in life, but you're degressing because it's like a critique of like yeah, I mean, you can look at it from two perspectives. You can look at it from like how he's thinking about the people that think this way, that they're progressing through life, but yeah, their moral and ethical standing is degressing, and they're yeah just becoming more
100%. Yeah.
hateful. But you can also take it of like in terms of like turning away from that, where it's like you're going forward in life in the way that they're telling you, and then you're doubling back because what the hell's going on?
Oh, going away from the steps that they're like taking
Yeah,
you. So like,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, that part makes sense
You
too.
can
Yeah.
interpret it a couple different ways. I think the first one is probably what he meant, though.
Yeah, which I mean, and that's the beauty about music though. It's like he could write it for whatever, but it's all about like what it means to you, like
Yeah,
what you ended up interpreting it as. And that's a, big call out on that too. Cause I guess yeah, when I was like hearing it, I kind of thought of it as like here we are, we go through, like you said, White House was built by slaves, we get rid of slavery, have to go through civil rights, all this shit. And then all of a sudden now it's like we're rioting over this shit against the mid 90s. What the fuck are we doing? Like I thought
yeah.
this is supposed to be over, but it's not. It keeps
Oh,
popping back, and it's not.
still not over.
And
Still
it's not
around.
and when you look into it, it's like the same type of institutions or like figureheads or whatever that's putting that stuff because a kid's not going to see that shit. Normal people, family values, all that stuff is pretty much, same. And it gets pushed and brainwashed into fucking people thinking, oh, that's the enemy, that's whatever, when it's you don't drag me down, It's like you gotta really be wise. That's why this song is just it's one that hits you fucking it got me deep, man. Cause
Yeah.
it's not like you're, all the small things type of feel here. This is a it's one where I had to like sit down. I mean, like I said, I was 13
Yeah,
hearing this. I was like, I
it's
have to think
heavy.
about this.
It's heavy, but at the same time, yeah, there's something about this song where they really streamlined the sound on it, and it was one of their first bigger hits.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, like the drum patterns and the guitar riff and that bass line, like they all come together in a way that feels very, yeah, like it is punk, but it's more modernized, and there's more of like a rock element to it.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, like when I want to show people punk that don't normally listen to punk, this is one of the ones I'll show them.
It's probably definitely a good one for sure. So let me
Yeah.
ask, so when you do hear this song now, does it like associate, I guess, like Tony Hawk usually first? Or I guess what usually comes to your mind first when this song, if
Oh,
the playlist
well,
or whatever?
I was talking about Tony Hawk, but this is actually on Dave Mirra. Yeah, Dave Mirra freestyle definitely comes to mind.
Oh yeah.
Um, and yeah, that and yeah, just kind of I would listen to it a lot when I was doing chores around the house in high school on my
Yeah.
CD player.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would play this song on loop a lot in high school, and yeah, that comes to mind. And yeah, I mean, I just love this song. It's great.
Yeah.
Social Distortion was the first show I ever went to,
Yeah.
and yeah, and they played this song, and I was waiting for them to play it. Yeah, man, I love. Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. They're great.
They are like part of that, yeah, late well, that LA punk scene for sure, yeah. Mike Ness beats.
Yeah, they're
When
actually they've been around a long time. They actually formed in '79.
you see, yeah, I knew that. I know it was like with that LA old punk scene, like I know TSOL was around, Dead
Yeah, they
Kennedys.
uh, they
Uh,
they kind of rebuilt themselves multiple times.
yeah,
And yeah, they had yeah, their first album, I forget what it's called, but it's got a picture of a skeleton sitting in front of the TV. That one's like more pure punk, and then they did their self-titled.
that's probably
Uh,
that was the album that I mean, it's probably my favorite back to back, just because I don't know that one hit me in like certain times though. But this album, the homage to Velvet Underground too, like I don't know, there was so much cleverness, I think, especially with this
oh yeah,
song too. And so let me ask you too. So when you heard this song, I guess with me when I heard it, like it kind of did both a little bit, but it was more of like a reflection type of song. Like I get not saying nostalgic, but like reflective. Like he played this song and it was like one of those songs where like you hear the sound of the guitar and everything. And it was like it made me like think about shit. Does that have the same vibe to you, or did it have more of like a like let's get to action like type of like vibe? Like what was the vibe to you when you heard this?
I mean, yeah, it hit me on multiple levels. I mean, like that bass line is what plays in my head every time I think of it.
For sure.
It's got a great bass line, great riff, and the drum grooves are solid. So yeah, I mean, like sonically, it just kind of calls out to you. I was like, hey, like, listen to this. Whatever you're doing, if you're at the gym, if you're skateboarding, if you're playing
Yeah.
video games about being on a BMX, whatever it is, jam out to this. And then at the same time, it's like, the lyrics that kind of keep you around and they really make you think. And yeah, there's something about songs that do that, where it's like not only do they have like a real like poignant topic, but on top of that, they layer in just like music that keeps you around.
Yeah, and Mike Ness, especially, he's a fucking one brilliant fucking lyrical writer. Like the lyrics usually would
Yeah,
always help push me into it.
and
And then musical
and
writer as
some of
well.
their later albums are honestly some of their best albums.
It
Just
really,
a
really, what I
fantastic.
like Yeah, what I like about them too is they never like even the few times they go to like a major or whatever, they made sure that like there was no compromises. They stayed to that
Oh
punk ethos, like they wouldn't ever sacrifice like however he wanted that fucking the band wanted that record to sound or whatever. Like I watched, interviews and stuff, they kept it that way. If something sounded
yeah,
out of like he just made sure that it was all their fucking art. No,
yeah,
especially during that time in those 90s, if you kind of remember, there was all kinds of shitty like rip-offs, if you will, like that just, a lot of
oh
bands
yeah.
just doing it for a quick buck and shit. And not to do that during that time is very admirable. That's very punk. It really what it is. It's just, not to.
Yeah. No, they've always had their sound. I mean, their sound has progressed a lot. Yeah, like they started out more pure punk, and then they, really dabbled in rockabilly,
Mhm.
and then they kind of brought it back. And this was, I would say, this was like their last album that would be like really considered like punk.
Mhm.
Because even on this album, um, he's covering a couple bands. I think he covers Rolling Stones. And he also covers Johnny Cash on here. Um, well, actually, I think Ring of Fire is on a different record. I'm getting it all mixed up. I don't have
Ring
it
of
in front of
Fire is
me.
on the self-titled. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's on a self-title. But yeah, they did cover the Rolling Stones, I think, on here. Let me bring it up. Hang on, I'm gonna look this up real quick.
Yeah, yeah, no
Uh,
worries. But I think
but
part of what that is too is just with a lot of punk bands, even like which I've always said with punk, what's different about it is when you start getting more talented and you can play better, you typically just start the music kind of because punk just has such a more raw,
yeah,
unpolished. What punk is to me always is that beauty in the flaw because it's not going to
yeah.
sound super polished. It's a little bit whatever, but when it hits you like this song did, right? It just fucking it's very
Oh,
honest and
absolutely.
to the point, to the core. You know, fucking that's what punk is to fucking me, and this is one of those songs that did it. It was like such a great introduction to Social
Under
D.
My Thumb. Yeah, yeah. That song is that's the last track on the record, and
They
that's
end it with the cover.
yeah, the Underwood cover. And
Yeah,
yeah, it definitely feels like this album. Yeah, and I Was Wrong was another one of the hits on this record. And it feels like it's their transition out of the punk space and into more like rock, but
hmm
they're still keeping the punk sensibility on the drums. And and with this song especially, like the punk mentality of like, like
yeah,
fuck the system.
for
It's all
sure,
there.
brother. For sure. Um, fuck, I think that kind of starts covering it for most of what I want to say on that. Make sure, I mean, like the lyrics again are so deep, especially kind of what we went over. Um, yeah, brother, I think that's all I got really on this. So I guess, do you want to add anything else about this song that just like polishes out to you or?
Um, I mean, beyond what we said, if you haven't heard it, check it out. It's a great
I think
song.
so. That's like one of the I think best pieces too is like if you got someone that's like a little on the
Yeah,
fence about punk or they don't know what it is,
yeah.
don't
There-
play them some
There's
fucking you
I
know
actually just found this today. There's also a original version on YouTube of this song before they
played it
re-recorded it,
like a demo.
and that last verse it gets even more political.
Yeah. Which I'm saying, man, I feel like maybe, we might need that more today. If anything. I
Yeah.
mean, just to think
Uh,
that I was talking about
you
this in one
know,
of my other episodes was NoFX was doing this whole like rock against Bush thing because at the time
yeah.
there was not going to be anyone worse than fucking Bush. Little
At
little
the
did we know
time.
how things
At the
go.
time.
But
Yeah.
what 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, bro.
Yeah. I mean, that's our political system in a nutshell.
That's what's happening in the political system. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
depending
I
on
mean,
but yeah.
it's very, yeah. I mean, it's very timely. And yeah, I think that's the thing where these are issues that are intrinsic with America, and I don't see them going away anytime soon, especially with things the way they are right now.
Hopefully, but probably not.
We'll see.
And like you said too, I think it's a great fucking introduction to someone. Like if so you got someone that just likes all that, shitty like screamo or whatever stuff, just maybe introduce them to this instead. It's a good introduction to it. And also, if you got someone that's a little, it's witty, very witty lyrics too. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Um, all right, well, that's all I got. And I'll make sure I put your plug, like when it gets split, I'll put your where to find. Well, you can just shoot it now. Where can people find you?
Yeah, on Instagram, fly_honky. And then my music, you can find it on all streaming platforms. Cramebroolay, Cramebrolay.
All right. All right.